So I really sat there and debated, should I try a My Cookie Dealer cookie and do it? What's going on, everybody? So I'm editing the show day and the post show day and all that stuff, the eating everything I want after my show, and actually my prep week and all of that. I'm editing all those videos right now, so this is probably going to come out substantially later after I'm recording it. But I figured this would be the best time with how my mindset is with after the show. So let me start with how did I enjoy the experience? I loved it. It's everything I could have ever wanted and more. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to step on the stage again and do more shows and eventually get my pro card and just make this my lifestyle. I can't wait. I did not expect how nice everyone would be. Everyone was so nice. I had such a great time with everyone. Such a great experience with all of that. So that was very nice. I made a lot of new friends, which was great. I learned a lot. So I guess I'll talk. I talked about this on my Instagram, but I guess I'll talk about this now. So I actually ran into a huge problem with my show, and that was I could not get a pump. I ate so many calories of like carbs, like dry carbs to like get a pump, and like sodium, like I had like salt and everything. I could not get a pump in my body at all. I had no veins, no vascularity. I have more vascularity right now than I did on show day eating all those carbs, and I've had like one meal today. So it's just insane, and I was pumping up. I just could not get a pump. It was crazy. So after I stepped off stage the first time for bodybuilding, they had immediately at like right there, they had all these My Cookie Dealer cookies. So I was like, man, I'm gonna grab some. So I grabbed two, and then I ended up grabbing more after. I grabbed another two. But I grabbed two, and I finished all of my snacks for my pump up, and I just could not get a pump. I even drank a pump product, like Bloodshot, could not get a pump. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I really sat there and debated, should I try a My Cookie Dealer cookie and do it? The only reason I didn't was because I didn't want my stomach to be distended. Or not even distended, I wanted to have like a good core for my posing routine to like suck in my stomach and stuff like that. And yeah, I ended up not doing it. I went through my posing routine, finished classic, and then I left, and then I ate 2 cookies and a bag of sour strips on my way home. When I got home, my legs, the veins on them from my like feet to my hips, crazy. And I'm like, can I even still pull a vacuum? So I took my pants off, like I had my trunks on, and I did my victory pose with a vacuum. My legs looked phenomenal, and my stomach was perfectly fine. I just ate 2 cookies and a bag of candy. So it's crazy. I had so many calories and carbs and stuff, and that was probably like 6,000 calories I had before I actually got pump in my legs. And I drank like a whole Powerade, like a full giant Powerade, full sugar Powerade. So it was so much sugar I had to finally get a pump. It was crazy. So I guess I know for next time I just need to prepare a lot for a carb up, which is insane, like for pre-stepping on stage. But yeah, the other thing that kind of bit me in the ass was I should have done more divisions, and the only reason I didn't was because it cost so much. Because I did open classic and I did open bodybuilding, and that was already $210. It would have been another $105 for each division. I should have done it anyway. I should have done juniors bodybuilding, junior. I should have done every single division I could have, and I'm kicking myself now that I didn't. Just so I could get that exposure on stage and have that stage presence. And I feel like that would maybe do better, because I ended up getting last place in both divisions. And I guess in classic physique, I could kind of see it. I didn't really look into my classic physique placing too much because I was just like, whatever. But my bodybuilding one, the 2 guys that beat me, that got I got 13th. So the guys who got 12th and 11th, especially the guy who got 11th. I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude to anyone, but he did Masters 60 plus and he got 3rd place. He was a 60 plus year old man who was, for bodybuilding standards and open, was not in shape. He had no muscularity. He had a giant stomach, like no cuts or anything. And he beat me and this other kid who won juniors. And the other kid, some people have showed the pictures between the two of us, and mostly the ones that said he should have beat me said that it was because he was bigger, but not as lean. So it's like they basically went for someone who had more size versus leanness. Because from the back, I was leaner. My legs from the back were leaner. His legs from the front were probably the same leanness, and then our abs were relatively similar, but he was just bigger. So I could see them giving it to him. But the guy who got 11th place, I don't see how he got 11th place at all. Besides the fact that he got 3rd place in Masters or something, like it makes no sense to me. And I'll put it. This is the last bit I'll talk about this, but I'll put up the picture now, where I'm on one side doing my side shot and he's on the other. You're gonna tell me that I lost like that? Like it was. I really don't think it was fair to me and this other kid that we lost to someone who shouldn't have beaten us. He wasn't even bigger than us. Like it was just weird. So yeah, that was one thing. I feel like I would have placed higher if I spent more money on more divisions. So that's something I'm gonna do for my next show. I want to go back into Classic again because I kind of have a bone to pick with Classic where I want to do better. I think I have a very nice physique for Classic and I got last place, so I'm kind of a little upset about that. So I have a bone to pick with it. I want to do better. Bodybuilding, I need to get bigger. So and that's what I want to be as a bodybuilder. So I'm obviously going to do bodybuilding again. But I'll probably do novice in both also. By the next time I compete I'm not gonna be 23 anymore, so I can't do that. And I've already competed, so I can't do true novice. So I'm just gonna do 4 divisions: novice in open and bodybuilding and classic, and then open and bodybuilding and classic. I guess that will lead into my next show that I'm gonna do is going to be I don't remember the exact name of it actually. But it's in August of 2022. So I'm taking about maybe 15 months until my next show. So I have a good amount of time, and I think I can put on a lot of good size and stay lean enough to be competitive, which then that will lead us into our next thing. So what am I doing right now? I'm just kind of like I'm not overeating, but I'm not undereating. I'm actually carb cycling, so 2 days of the week I'll have high carb. 2 days I'll have low carb, where I do lower calories and low carb. And then 3 days I will do just moderate carb and like average calories. So I'm like kind of like always in that range. So like moderate is my maintenance, and then high carb I go over maintenance, and low carb I go like slightly below maintenance. And I'm still doing cardio. Whether it's I go for a couple mile walk, like about 4 or 5 miles in the morning fasted, or I'll do the Stairmaster at the gym for 15-20 minutes, or I might just even go for a walk in the afternoon, or being at work, just trying to make sure I walk around a lot more, get some steps in, trying to do minimum like 10,000 steps a day. But yeah, so I'm keeping myself active, which is something I didn't do my last off season. I also just ate everything in sight. I did a seafood diet. I see food, I eat it. Right now I actually have a base diet I follow. It's been a little iffy right now because I still have like some snacks from post show that I got and like stuff like that. So this week hasn't been super consistent with how I'm doing my off season. That's why I'm not starting my BAM series until next week. I'm going to start recording it because that's really going to be when I actually start doing all that stuff. Right now it's like I'm eating that diet, but then like I also might have like a cookie with it or something. And I guess we'll talk about my post-show rebound weight. So today is Thursday, so it's 5 days after the show, and I am 200 pounds this morning, and I competed at 186. but I also cut about 7 or 8 pounds of water for the show, and I was also on a quarter of the calories I'm on now. So a lot of it is water weight that I've retained back, and you can even like see it if I took my shirt off. I have like this film of water, and then also the stomach being just like kind of bloated from the food. So once I get to a normal diet again, my stomach's gonna go down. So realistically, if anything, I put on like maybe 2 pounds of fat. Most of it's just water and just like actual just size. But I still can flex and I have some abs, but it's not as nice just because my stomach is still like full. So it's not like how I want it to be. So starting next week, hopefully it will like clean up and look a little bit better. So this is one thing I did mention in my show day video, and I will address kind of now. So I was not on any anabolics for 3 weeks, just about 3 weeks leading up to my show. I ended my cycle and I didn't take any orals to go into the show or any water cuts. I literally took like a natural diuretic. I think this is it right here. Nope, that's the other thing. I took the senna, but I took the dandelion root. You guys saw that in the prep week video. But yeah, I was severely in like just in a different range. Like if you look at me on stage versus a lot of these other guys, I literally looked like I was a natural competitor compared to these guys, because these guys were telling me like what they were on. The one guy who won one of the classes, I won't say specifically because it is kind of fucked up for me to out everyone's stuff, but one guy told me he was on a bunch of tren, test. I think he said he was on Halo. He took Adderall. He smoked weed. He was on like a bunch of stuff, and like a lot of these other guys were like, yeah, I'm on this. I'm like, a lot of tren talk. A lot of guys were on tren and like all these like other things. It just kind of made me see that like I was very like easy going into this whole world of anabolics, and I still want to be easy going into it, and I'm going to be easy going into it in my off season, but I am going to have to throw in some extra compounds to make myself harden up and look really good. But we'll play with that as we get closer to it. That's not going to be until the next prep thing. Right now the off season is kind of keeping it similar with compounds, but I'm not even throwing that in yet. I'll let you guys know in the BAM series when I throw that in. But yeah, so that is one thing that a lot of people have said to me, that like looking at me on stage versus everyone else, I was severely outsized. But I also competed in a class I was not meant to really compete in. I competed in light heavies. I lost 7 pounds of water to get to 186. Middleweight is 176. If I could have lost 10 more pounds of fat and stepped on stage at like 175, I would have looked so much better on my stage, on my like show day. I would have been a lot leaner in a lot other parts of my body, and I probably would have placed a little bit better. Now, would have I won middleweight? No. The guy who won middleweight was crazy good. But I do think I would have placed pretty well in middleweight if I cut down to that class. But I ended up not doing it because I started a prep at like 220, and I was trying to compete at 175. So that's almost 50 pounds. That's 45 pounds I had to lose. So, do I regret putting on all that size? No. The reason is I needed to do that. I was in a deficit for so long, I needed that size. Am I ever going to do that again? Probably never. Am I going to get big again? Yeah. Am I going to get that sloppy? No. The only thing I probably regret the most is that I picked a show. One, I picked a show that is probably the most competitive show for a regional show ever. Like, most pros do this show when they're amateurs, and so many of the guys that were there were like multiple time national competitors. So I was like a first time competitor who was first time on anabolics, not even taking anything leading into the show. And these guys have been like on shit for years and taking know like all this stuff, have high level coaches. Like most of them have like IFBB pro coaches and stuff, and they've been national competitors multiple times. And they're like done like over 20 shows and all this stuff. Some of the guys, it was their first show, but again, like it just still like I was severely outclassed. So I think I would have done better if I picked a show more suited to myself, and if I picked one a little bit later. Like if I would have picked one a couple months later, I could have cut down that extra those extra pounds of fat and done a little bit better. But as of right now, that's just not something I want to do. I just want to get bigger. So instead of trying to prep for another show and continue dieting, I just want to get bigger and bigger. I just need to get bigger. And so I'm going to compete with my friend Jake next year in, I think it's in South Carolina. I don't remember if it's South or North Carolina, but it's somewhere in the Carolinas. And it's in August of 2022. So that's the plan. So yeah, it's basically a show wrap up. I was really upset and discouraged at first, but I'm over it now. I've accepted, you know, my loss. I've accepted I've had my own problems. I accepted the inevitable of some things, and I accepted some what I perceived to be some strange politics that I've heard about in the sport but experienced firsthand. Which is another reason why I'm not competing in the Northeast next time. I want to kind of give myself a different demographic and see if it's maybe a demographic thing, because I do hear that the Northeast does like big boys. Like they like, doesn't really matter how lean you are as long as you're big. And I kind of did see that where some of the guys were relatively close to my leanness, or they were shredded, but they were all freaking big. But yeah. So that's going to wrap up this video. That is the wrap up of the Road to Show. Finally, after 2 seasons of it, I finally got a show. After 4 separate preps. Yeah, like 4 preps. I finally got to do this show. And this was the show I wanted to do in the very beginning of the Road to Show. So it is fitting that I finished it with the first show. I would like to come back to Atlantic States probably in 2023 after I put on some size and I do another show. I might make a comeback to Atlantic States and see how I can do. But we'll see. So that's the end of Road to Show Season 2. And now we're going to start BAM Season 2. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this series, and I hope you stay tuned for the next series. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, share with people. We got to get this channel going. I am more involved in this channel than I ever will be. During prep I had like all this like mind problems and everything, and I am pumped. I know last BAM I didn't show you very much. I think I did 3 videos. We're doing a lot more. We're going on a long off season. We're not doing a 3-month off season. We're getting some videos in. We're going to have some fun. It's beautiful outside. It's beautiful today. I'm starving, and I'm going to go eat. So remember, guys, I used to always say, stay massive, but I'm going to take my girl's new saying. So remember, guys, don't be natty.
Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong.